Today on John Dash and Friends, John sits down with his friend Dan Conn. Dan shares his incredible journey from over 30 years working at General Motors to his passion and skill in short-track car racing. A man with a wealth of wisdom and a kind heart, Dan opens up as he and John share stories of growing up in Michigan and the road that eventually led to the mountains of Virginia. It's a conversation filled with memories, laughter, and life lessons you won't want to miss. We hope you enjoy this episode of John Dash and Friends. Watch the full episode on Facebook or listen on Spotify, Apple, and Amazon Music.
All right, Dan, I tell you what, we've known each other a little while, not long enough to not like each other. I think we've done pretty good. I originally met Dan back when we went through with Mike Compton and Joe White on racing. And this racing is complicated, isn't it? I don't know. I watch you guys do it, and all I do is change tires and use the window cleaner and the car wax. That's the extent. And I do check air pressure, but I'm not real comfortable doing that because I'm scared I'll mess up, even though you just have to read the air pressure. Yeah. But it is this short track asphalt racing, and that's what I'm going to term it as. I don't know, what would you call it?
Yeah,
short track asphalt racing, ain't it? Okay, it's a real technical, complicated thing. Yeah. I don't know if Joe's just making it him and Mike making it look overcomplicated, because I see some of them guys come in there in an old trailer and throw their car off of the ramp and they take off racing. Yeah. But everything, man, is like 1/8 of an inch here and 1/8 of an inch there.
Yeah, closer than that. Yeah,
it's crazy.
It's the science behind it all that keeps me interested.
Right.
And doing the technical setup stuff, is kept me interested in it.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking of some things. How'd you first get involved in this short track racing and things like that, Dan?
My friend in Michigan, he started racing back when we were probably 19, 20 years old, somewhere around there, and he invited me to go with him, and it's like, I loved it, I just loved everything about it, and had fun with it, and I grew up within a few miles of these racetracks and never went. Yeah. And it's like, man, how come I didn't get involved in this when I was in my early teens or something, Yeah. But so we raced together for like 13 years. He was the car owner and driver. I just went with him to help, and so that's where I got most of my learning from him and the guys around him that helped us, and so then my son and I, when he got to be like 15 years old, I told him, you behave when you get your driver's license on the street, and we'll save the racing for the racetrack, and we'll get a race car. And so we did, we did that for about 3 years together. And then when he went to college, that kind of put a damper on it. And then it was shortly after that I moved down here, and that kind of put an end to it until I got to know the guys at Kid Tire and got involved with them in their racing there,
Yeah. Well, where did you grow up at, Dan? Where did you grow up at?
Fenton, Michigan, which is about 12, 13 miles south of Flint, Michigan.
Okay.
Everybody knows about Flint because they got put on the map with the water issue.
Right. Yeah, that'd make them famous. Yeah. My grandmother was in Lansing, and then moved to Eaton Rapids.
All right.
And when we used to go up there and visit her, man, it was like a whole new world leaving War, West Virginia, and going to Michigan without, man, it was just like
Lansing's a big town.
Yeah, it's like you couldn't, just what used to fascinate me was the city block. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because we never had blocks in War, West Virginia. McDowell County, there's such thing as a block. Yeah. And when you get up there and you see all these houses and these roads going crossways, it just was fascinating.
Yeah. Everything's set up in a grid, north, south, east, west.
Yeah, and that's just, when you seen that, think about that, and you go someplace as a boy and you would go there. And I went there, and I remember in Eaton, when they moved to Eaton Rapids, there was a McDonald's. And the French fries were 26 cents for a bag. And my mom and dad would give me 26 cents. Now, they would send me walking
Yeah.
They send me walking to the McDonald's with 26 cents, and I'd get me a bag of French fries in that little plastic paper bag.
Yeah.
And that was a big thing. I'd have them ate before I got back. Always done that. But I mean, well, when we think about growing up, what are some things that stand out in your mind growing up when you grow up there in Michigan?
Oh, I don't know. We were involved at church a lot. Went to First Baptist Church in Fenton, Michigan, and so as kids, you get involved with the youth group and doing those functions and getting to go to the occasional ball game. I played Little League when I was that age, and I hope you're going to edit this part out.
Well, did you when you think about growing up like that, okay? There's a different worlds. There's many worlds everybody lives in.
Yeah.
Okay? And you see these different worlds that people grow up in, and I think I'm fascinated by it because we all think that our world is normal world.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And we don't think about the worlds that other people grow up in.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big thing.
We got a taste of that. I mean, every year, General Motors would have a 2-week shutdown for changeover.
Right.
And so pretty much every year we came to Virginia, to Tazewell, to where, family was, and we would stay a week with this uncle and a week with that uncle, then we'd go back to Michigan, and that was our vacation every year. So, we got a taste of both worlds and see how these cousins live, and they would come to Michigan occasionally and get a taste of our world.
Right.
But where I grew up, when I was in my say 10 years old and younger, we lived right across the street from elementary school, which had a front yard. This elementary school was probably a couple of acres of flat land, and that's where we played all of our football games and baseball games and everything as kids. We were like right there across the street, so Mom and Dad could keep an eye on us, And but like you say, growing up in that era was a whole lot different than now. I mean, people wouldn't let their kids just be very far out of their parents' sight, nowadays. And
it seemed to me like as I was growing up, it was, make sure, Connie, y'all work with your cameras now. As I was growing up as a boy, that my parents turned me loose a lot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They would send us to the mountains with a hatchet. You know what I mean? We'd go up there and do stuff and go, and then they would turn around and they would turn loose. Nowadays, people don't. I watch them now, don't let their kids sort of out of their sight.
Yeah.
Don't think about it as much.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can remember as a boy growing up, and my dad would give me he had a little shop on the side of the road, and where he done work for mines and panel boards and different things like that. But he'd give me a roll of tape, and that'd occupy me all day.
Oh, yeah.
Get that roll of tape out and play with that and do stuff like it.
Yeah.
But you think about the world you grow up in.
Yeah.
And where'd you go to school at?
Fenton High School, I'm sorry, I went to Fenton High School through the Fenton school system up through the 9th grade.
Right.
Then we went to a Christian school, which was about almost 25 miles north of where we lived. And so 10th, 11th, 12th grade, I went to that school. The first year that the school came into existence, there was 100 students from kindergarten through 12th grade, and my older sister was the only senior that year.
Right.
When I was a senior, there were 6 of us, but by the end of the school year, there was 4 seniors. So I always tell everybody I graduated top of my class.
well, I think it's good to keep stuff like that. I'd have me a T-shirt made. So when did you really move down to this area. Before with that, now let's talk about working for General Motors. You worked for General Motors.
I did.
How long did you work for General Motors?
31 years.
31 years. See, I think that's great, man. You take, you know, somebody that has a job and that kind of job and stays with that, a lot of benefits to that.
Yeah. I always tell everybody that, you know, my time at General Motors was a lot easier than like when my dad worked there. You know, back in the 50s and 60s, I mean, they worked hard, you know, and then, you know, the union kept making it better and better for people, and the benefits got better, because I remember my dad was going to quit back in the, I'd say, the late 60s and come down here and bring the family and raise them on the farm. But then the benefits started getting so good that, you know, you can't cut the apron strings. So he finished out his 30 years up there. And but when I hired in, you would work for about 6 or 7 months, and then you'd be laid off for 6 or 7 months, you know, and getting good unemployment and sub benefits. And it was, you know, just rocking chair money compared to when Dad was cutting his teeth there.
You know, I had a grandfather that retired working for General Motors. It was the last husband of my grandmother, and his name was Martinez. He was straight Mexican, though. He wasn't no halfway Mexican. You couldn't hardly understand him, all right? But he was a worker. Now, he worked for there, and he was in the National Guard, and he also retired working for General Motors. And she'd send him to work every day with a cooler full of sandwiches and stuff like that. You know, he'd sell sandwiches and drinks and stuff, and he was a worker.
We worked around a lot of people that did that.
That's what he did, you know.
Tamales.
He was real big. He was big on that. But I think those kind of jobs, to get, you know, to have a job like that and stay with that and retire. If you can find something early on in your life, you know, I've always said, the biggest thing is a lot of people just switch job to job. You know, and if you're not happy, I mean, I wouldn't say stay with something you're miserable with. But it's called work too. In the end, I'm sure every day you didn't click your heels together for 31 years and say, "Hot dogs, I'm going to work today."
Those layoffs were, you know, nice when you're young and you're wanting to get a break. You got it, but. The insurance was good, you know, for raising a family and that, you know. I mean, every time the kids get a sniffle going on, you know, rush them to the doctor, you know, because, you know, it didn't cost anything. And so it was good, steady employment, not unemployment.
I know. You know, and that makes sense. You know what I mean? But to stay with that, and that way you work out a good retirement, you work out things work out for you. And it's a really, you know, I think it's great to do that. You know, my son works for Pepsi, and I told him, I said, "Son, you're not going to get laid off. They're always going to need sugar water, okay, as long as we live." I mean, you know, people are going to, you know, one thing I've noticed, and I watch a lot of stuff on like General Motors and all these different car manufacturers, is the automation is so fascinating now. I mean, it is just unreal how vehicles made. And watch how that the bed of a truck will be way over here, and it's married. They call it married to a fender that's plumb on the other side of the place. And those two go together. And then I was watching too, like they showed how they were making the cars, and they were. The colors are not just random, like they said, let's make some blue ones and make some red ones, that they were ordered specifically, and this fender was already painted to match this bumper and this hood and this stuff, and they come together, and I watch a motor come out of the ceiling and go down in these cars, and gee whiz.
I feel like I got in there and got out at a good time, because the robots, the automation were taking over. I mean, you know, jobs were dropping, because I remember at one point, probably in the late 70s, early 80s, when the plant I worked in, there was 9,000 people in there on 3 shifts, working full, you know, 3 shifts. And I think by the time I retired, there was only about a little over 3,000 people in the whole plant. And, you know, I started out in the paint department spraying paint, you know, and you do one color and you turn around with your spray gun and pop that hose off and take another hose and pop it on there and spray the next color, you know. And so the robots do all that now, you know, and they got people that teach the robots, and that would have been a good job to go to. But you know, once the robot has got its program set up, you know.
I watch the blemishes. Like if they have a car and they have a blemish on that car, okay, when it comes back through, that person inspects it, and then they don't repaint it. You know, they'll buff out the blemish or buff out the things like that.
I worked in that area too.
That was fascinating. When I look at that, I think, I don't know, man, the way they sock the seats in them and the windshields and it's just if a person, you know, and so much of that stuff now we can watch on YouTube and places, and I think it's just, I get hooked on that stuff, okay? Automation, things like it. I got hooked a while back watching garbage dumps, landfills. Yeah. That's the most fascinating thing I'd ever seen. They showed this fascinating, these trucks would line up, Dan. They'd line up like, you know, 300-400 trucks in the mornings waiting on the landfill to open. Wow. And at night on the landfill, they would take it. I know it ain't interesting a lot of people, but my Dwayne King says I'm full of useless information. But then they come out with these dozers, and they'll have these 200-foot wide tarpaulins, and they cover the landfill at night to keep any moisture out of it. Oh. And then they come back, and then they start bringing those trucks in. Then they come through a scanner to make sure they don't have any hazardous material. Those trucks, they'll come through those scanners, and it's so much more than what you think, you know. And I've got now where I can recognize an old landfill when I'm driving down the road. The other day I come to a place, and I was with my daughter, and I said, that big hill up there. She said, yep, used to be a landfill. I said, that's what I was getting ready to say. I can tell. You know, look at this stuff. But automation, and we can try to, I don't know, you know, some people get upset with automation. It's coming. It's here. What do you mean? Yeah. Henry Ford started it. I mean, you know, it's all there. We have to have it, you know, but I mean, I don't know. We talk a lot about AI, and we use it a lot. I use it a tremendous amount, and I'm using it more all the time because it's such access to such information that I can do, and it makes work and things that you can do so much easier. And I don't know if we can replace AI, put AI in that race car in place of Joe. We could think about it, couldn't we? Put a robot in there. Maybe if we could run it from the side, not let him touch the steering wheel. Or the gas pedal or the brake. Or the gears, all right? No gas pedal, no brake, no gears. And not the accelerator. And we could just have him sit there. We could let AI work, see if we could replace him.
Get rid of Joe and let Sam drive.
Put Sam in there. He'd be lighter anyway. He'd be like. I remember one time we was at the race with Joe, and we was having trouble getting it weighed, and he was burning up. Hot. He said, I don't care. Put me in the back. I don't care. I got to get out of here. He was dying hot. And but you know, when I think about that, you know, so when you think about what's kept you involved, is really the technical end of the racing. You know, it's kept you.
I've had opportunities to drive before, and I didn't set the world on fire. It was fun. You know, it was just like my chance to get the same thrill like you get on a roller coaster. You know? And they let me drive a car down here at Kid Tire one summer, and the track that we went to, there's a group of guys there that thought they owned the track, you know, and they wouldn't let you get a lap in. You know, you would get knocked off the track, and I mean, it was so hard. I hadn't been in a race car in about 13, 14 years, and I was wanting to just get back in there and have some fun and make some laps, and it was like they were taking the fun out of it for me. You know, it didn't matter if I ran in the back. I just wanted to get some laps in and get comfortable again with it. And it's like I finally just said, I ain't got nothing to offer you, so I quit. You know,
people are. Well, the reason God destroys the earth over people, you know what I mean? And sometimes, I don't know, you know what? When you fool with petty people, sometimes it makes you want to get away from them. But I know there's a lot of good people I fool with a lot of. I try to, when I start getting around these things and it gets to be too complicated, and I've got several things that I'm involved in. If people start getting petty, and, and I'm not trying to change the world.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm not going to. I just sort of fool with a few people and be good to a few people.
Yeah.
And people that I like. Yeah. And ones I don't like, I just get away from them. Yeah. And leave them alone. Yeah. And let them handle their own business.
Right.
And I think you just got to be prepared to fool with the ding-dongs. Mm-hmm. That's what's aggravating.
Yeah. And we still get around that same group of people at the racetrack, and it's like, I can be cordial, but I don't need to get involved with them if, Yeah,
I know what you mean.
I don't know if they remember giving me a hard time or not. But
I tell you what, I bet they didn't. Okay, and they don't. I think one thing, and I've shared this before, I think that sometimes people don't remember us as much as we think they do. Yeah. I think sometimes we're not as memorable. In our own mind, that becomes a big thing. Yeah, sure. But I think sometimes people they'll do things. And I tell you what happens too, people sometimes change their mind. Mm-hmm. They might think you're a dork or a punk, and then they change their mind. Yeah. And I've always reserved the right to change my mind. You know what I'm talking about? Now, you can't hardly change what you say. Yeah. If your wife says, "Does this make me look real fat?" you can. What are you gonna say? So you can say nothing, walk out of the room. Okay, so you can always think stuff, but I think what happens in our mind, we get around people that do stuff to us. Mm-hmm. That really, I don't know, and maybe I give them too much credit. When you think about racing, what are some of the things you've seen change over the years?
Well, I don't think a whole lot has changed. It still takes, a certain amount of front weight, back weight, left and right weight to get the car balanced out to where it's going to go through the turns fast, Mm-hmm. But when you're racing pretty much short tracks that are half mile or less, mm-hmm. There's probably not a whole lot of change other than, the racing parts get better and better, and, shock absorbers and, tire compound, and, mm-hmm. There's things that have got worse too, because they need to slow the cars down. And I think that's, the insurance company is not going to insure this racetrack if they let the cars get too fast and too dangerous, So they give you a harder tire compound so you don't get as much grip, so you're slower, and then they, carburetor rules, they're just shock absorbers. This class of cars can only use, these lesser shocks. Right. To keep them from getting faster,
Well, I knew I went to some dirt track races, and I had a friend of mine that told me about a race they did. They used to do it down at Myrtle Beach on the big dirt track down there. But they had what's called claim races, where you could claim a motor.
Mm-hmm. Well, they still do that.
That's people don't know. Well, they can actually claim, like say what would a price be on a claim race?
Probably $2,500.
Okay, if you got $2,500 claim race, you put up $2,500, mm-hmm. and at the end of the race, you can claim a motor, somebody's motor. Yeah. And they have to take that motor out?
Well, I don't know if they do the claimer stuff so much, but you can protest and say, this guy's motor was illegal.
Well, now this one, they actually took the people's motors.
Yeah, well, the track people might keep the motor, but they don't give it to the guy that put up. You get your claim money, you get your protest money back. Okay. If you were right, the guy that was illegal, he loses his motor, and mm-hmm. and I don't know who keeps the money. The track does, I guess. But,
it's fascinating when I think about that stuff. But and I watch a lot of people after a race. As soon as that car he don't get to come back to the pits. They pull them in up there and they start going through them to make sure nothing's illegal.
We had one of our guys, Brett, a few years ago. He ended up finishing second in the race, And the guy that won the race, we knew he was illegal. He was, I mean, he had bought the engine from us.
Right.
And we knew what the engine consisted of. And I was shooting and darning all over the place, because if I would have had $2,500
Right.
in my pocket, we would have protested him, because then Brett would have won the race.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's like, on the way home then, we were talking about it, and one of our other fellow racers, he's like, well, you should have said something. He said, I had $2,500 right in my front pocket. You know? It's like, well, that one's in the wind now. But,
Well, I think everybody, in any competition, people can cheat a little bit if they can find the way.
Yeah, well,
you know what I mean? No matter what they're
nowadays,
working at.
If a crew chief ain't, looking for that gray area, he's not doing his job.
I mean, they're looking for something. They're trying to find a way you can have just be a step ahead, because if everything is even, if everything is sort of even in situations, you're going to find a way that you can turn around and say, all right, let me see how I can get ahead of this person, if it's whatever, And I love watching some of that old stuff that you watch and watch them and see how they'll turn around and talk about how people in the past have cheated. I think that's fascinating. When you think about the Waltrops and the Earnhardts, and you see all that stuff. That's cooler than anything.
Yeah, I like listening to that.
Yeah, I like looking at that. I like watching a race on TV sometimes, if it's a good race, more than I do being there. Sometimes I enjoy watching. You got a really good seat.
Yeah.
You can get up and go to the bathroom when you want.
When I lived in Michigan, we went to Michigan Speedway as much as we could, International Speedway there. But there was multiple times when we came to Martinsville and Bristol, all the way from Michigan, to watch races. And back then, you sat just sandwiched between people,
Right.
And if you got up to go to the bathroom, you were risking getting your seat back.
Right.
Know? And but then. Over the years, it's like the more you get involved with local racing yourself, it seems like we pay less attention to what they're doing,
Yeah.
And so I don't go to so many races anymore.
Yeah. We went to Hickory. Janice and I got to go to Hickory a while back. First time we'd ever been to Hickory, got to go there and sort of say, but I don't know, if you don't know the people, for us racing, we're just sort of normal type fans.
Yeah.
And if we know the people, that's why when we go to Kingsport, we try to go every Friday, every time they have a race, and we know the people, and we know the ones that are.
It's always more fun when you can root for somebody.
Yeah, or you can boo some of them, the ones you need to boo. All right, you can boo them. But I think about that now. I tell you what, I think the first of the year, racing is more fun to go watch.
Yeah.
Because people don't have their cars plumb dialed in.
Yeah, and they're not all tore up yet either.
And toward the end of the year, you pretty much know who's going to win.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
And it get boring for the normal fan.
Yeah.
When we go to watch and set our chairs out, we're watching, and we say, well, they can start him in the back if they want to. Okay.
Right.
But we know who's going to win, and they'll work their way through. And I don't know. And then I tell you what, we did go to Winston-Salem.
Oh, yeah.
Track of most boring race I ever been
Really?
to. They call it the Madhouse. Have you ever been to it?
No.
It's right in the middle of town.
Okay.
It looks like it's on a football field. Thousands of people at these races. Okay, this race is a big event. Every race.
Bowman Gray.
Bowman Gray.
Yeah. Okay.
And Bowman Gray, man, people you wouldn't believe the people that are there, because you go some of these races you don't have a lot of people,
Right.
but this thing's packed out. It's like a carnival event.
Yeah.
But the track is only like 2 cars wide.
Yeah.
And I mean, how in the world are they going to get around?
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
They got to knock them out of the way.
That's the only way they can do it. And
Right.
then they really don't look like they get fast enough to have any good wrecks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're just sort of,
You're an ambulance chaser,
Yeah,
aren't you?
I don't know. I watch them and I'm thinking we tried to be excited, but we were bored.
Yeah.
Okay, they just seem like they all come out there and get in and they got them lined up from the front of the curve, middle of the curve, to the other middle of the curve. Mm-hmm. And when they drop the hammer on them, I mean, it's just like it looks like slot cars going around the track. It's just not wide enough.
Yeah.
There's the curves. I think it's flat. I think it's just about flat.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah,
you know
is.
what I mean? And I don't know. We didn't like it.
Yeah.
We didn't like it. We talked about going back again. Mm-hmm. I like Hickory pretty good. I liked it. We used to go to Myrtle Beach when it was open. Speedway at Myrtle Beach. We'd go down and watch it some when it was open. And they closed that down.
Yeah.
Shut it down.
They reopened Motor Mile for this year over at Radford, and I don't know if we're going to make it over there or not, but we used to really like to go to that track to race. And
I think Joe laid his hand on the Bible and said if it opened, he was going back over every race. He'd already told Jody he was going back there to it because he loved that track, don't he?
Oh, yeah. He's won several.
I know. He loves that track. He talks about it.
I don't know if we're going, though, or not. It always changes.
Yeah. You know, and I think the style of the racer, the driver, style of the driver, not the racer, style of the driver, it suits different tracks. It seems like, I think, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you get one that's got a more sweeping turn, or one that's more like a paper clip, and sometimes it's two different drivers, or a driver that can adjust back and forth real easy, you know.
Yeah. You know, I watched, because I learned a lot by watching Mike and Joe talk about, even when they tried to race at Kingsport, you know, which is a different track, you know, it has a whole different type of track.
Yeah.
And the style of driving there is different for different drivers on different tracks and how they acclimate to that.
Yeah.
And then I think what I've noticed too is people that race regular at a track. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it happens with everything, I guess. I guess they get more acclimated to that track, don't they?
Yeah.
And, you know, instead of racing here and racing here and racing here. And, you know, I don't like dirt track as much. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's pretty good, but I don't know. I just don't I don't like it as much as I do the short asphalt.
Yeah. Yeah, we've only gone to a few dirt races over the years. I mean, I took my son, we went to a couple, and we go over here to Withville sometimes, and because we know a couple of guys that race over there, and it's fun.
You've been at Princeton, the track at Princeton?
Not to watch a race. No.
It's a good race. It's a pretty good race. Melvin Bishop, I've known that family for years that built that track. You know, you can back right up on the hill and sit on the back of the truck, which was pretty good. But you really can't hear. You know, when you can't hear and don't know what's going on, it really makes it hard. And I found that at some tracks, if you can't hear good, you know, at Princeton, at Kingsport sometimes, you can't, every once in a while you can, but you can't really hear and you don't know what's getting ready to come up, what's getting ready to race. You're always saying, what's racing?
Yeah.
And I think that's a bit. They said they spent a lot of money over there at Coburn, though, this year.
Yeah, right.
Re-asphalted the track.
Yeah.
Redone the center.
New concession stands. A bunch of stuff.
And,
it'll be interesting to go back over there and see how it is. I know one of the tracks we raced at in Michigan, they repaved that track, and it was like a skating rink for a few years. You know, I can remember going there the first day when it was new pavement, and people that, you know, they were racing super late models with the, you know, big cube engines, and, you know, they would take and unhook their back two barrels on the carburetor because they didn't need all that horsepower. You know, they were just skating around there, and it was the one that, you know, could race on ice the best that won the race. It wasn't about the best driver or best the local guy that was always good, you know.
I think it's cool. And I know they've repaved it back in the fall, didn't they? So let it sit all winter.
Yeah.
But it still have to.
From what I understand, there's a different kind of pavement they use for the racetracks,
I've seen that too. I heard that.
So, you know, maybe it'll be different than what we experienced up there.
Yeah. I tell you what, a heck of a racetrack's Newport. Man, have you been down there?
Yeah, we went down there once.
Oh, yeah.
We were fast qualifier when we unloaded, and Brett got second in the race, and it was pretty crazy. He come across the finish line almost backwards because it had a brake caliper that broke off the car, and it put it in a spin, and he come across the finish line backwards. We got second place.
Ricky Bobby type of moment.
Yeah.
Well, you know, at Newport, they spent a lot of money down there. You know, on that track. Getting it where it needed to be.
But they aren't racing that class of cars this year that we raced down there last year. did away with them at that track for some reason.
The track was closed a long time, wasn't it?
Wasn't. I really don't know the history.
Because they had a junkyard in there.
Oh. Huh.
They turned it into a junkyard. But now they've spent a lot of money, sound systems and everything. It's just down there. That guy has went first class.
It was nice. Yeah.
Okay, he has laid it out. I mean, it's like looks to me like a little Bristol almost.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, the curves are banked. Okay, and them cars are flying.
Yeah, that's one of the tracks we raced at in Michigan. It was called Flat Rock Speedway, and it was very high banked oval. It was only a quarter mile. Right. It was like a toilet bowl. Yeah,
just sitting there.
And Newport reminded me of that. It's just a little bit bigger, It's probably, a 3/8 mile or something.
I believe it is. Did you ever go to Bristol when they had dirt, put dirt on the track?
No.
We went down and watched them race in the dirt.
Really?
That's fascinating. They put like 10 feet of dirt on that track. 10 feet. It was just it was wild to watch. Them cars were flying on that dirt track because, it's enormous. You know what I mean? Yeah. And we went out and watched them. It's one of the few I've went because I just can't pay that $150 for tickets and stuff. I don't know. I just can't do it. I have a hard time with it. I think, let's go to Kingsport and pay $12. Yeah. Okay.
We used to. Me and a buddy in Michigan had season tickets to Bristol one year, and we learned you could go down there and buy tickets outside the gate from somebody that was trying to get rid of theirs. Yeah. It's like, why are we doing this season ticket? Yeah. So we just started coming all the way from Michigan with no tickets. Yeah. And by the time you get your car parked and start walking towards the track, you've bought tickets for $50. You know.
Yeah.
And
that makes. First time I went to Bristol, and I got messed up. First time Janice and I went, some people invited us, some friends of ours invited us, and they had a skybox. Okay, so we're up there in the skybox, and we're eating and watching a race, and it's all, it's just, and we thought, this ain't no big deal, you know what I mean? Then we come out of the skybox and all that noise, we said,
Yeah, I got to experience that a couple of times. Yeah. My brother would get tickets through Meade. And we went to the Meade skybox.
Right. It's neat, ain't it? I mean, that's a whole nother. Yeah. I like that. When you think about racing, you think about the stuff you've learned over the years when we talk about racing, and these principles that you've learned. What are some of the principles that you sort of apply to your everyday life? And I know it's a tough one. When you think about the discipline, and you think about the sensitivity of it all. The mechanics, like you speak of.
I don't know if it's that way or I apply the principles of my everyday life to the racing. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and I know what you said, the technical end of it's what keeps you interested.
Yeah. Yeah. You asked me about growing up and stuff. I kind of skipped over, I guess. But, I grew up wanting to mess with mini bikes and go-karts and motorcycles. And, I played Little League, but I wasn't involved in sports like my brother was. And when, I got older, probably from the time I was 14 or 15 on up, I was buying and selling cars and, doing body work and painting and mechanicking and, just shade tree mechanic stuff, and then so that, my background in mechanical stuff is what got me interested in, the rest of it, Yeah. But anyway, I just, and then a lot of people say that, I'm a perfectionist. I'm not.
Well, now, I'll just be upfront with you, okay? People say you're a stickler. Not a perfectionist. I've heard them say, now I tell you what, Dan, he's right. A stickler on some things, okay? But that's a good thing. I don't think it's a bad thing, rather than somebody saying they're sloppy, okay?
Well, and I always tell people, too, in my mind, I think I'm a very organized person. Right. But come over to my garage, it's a nightmare, It's not what I want it to be, It's...
I know what you mean. Exactly.
It's a continuous nightmare.
I've got to where I use a lot of blue tape now and write on it. When I do a lot of repair work and stuff like that, and home repair stuff, and I've got all my boxes. I've got those black boxes with the red lids, and I got blue tape on the front. This says plumbing material. This says hardware. You know what I mean? Because because what you do, you run across so many things, hinges and stuff and stuff, and one says nothing but screws and nails.
Yeah.
Because screws and nails are expensive. All right. Used to be it was cheap, you know, but stuff like that, and I put them in, and you know, I try to organize that stuff and try to do it the best I can.
Right.
Now, what I run into is through the winter, I buy a lot of stuff from Temu, especially, and places. I buy these tools, or I buy this tool bag, and I do not need one more tool bag in my life. And you know, and then Janice puts it out in my building, puts it on my workbench, and then I went out the other day and I said, "What in the world have I got all these packages for?" You know what I mean? And I tried to go through them, figure out what all I bought to organize. You know, and I don't know. I think it's a good thing.
I did a lot of remodeling and you know, decks and roofs and, you know, that windows and doors over the years. And so when I moved down here after I retired from General Motors, I did a lot of that, and I had some of these box trucks, you know, and I would try to stay organized inside my truck, and I did that. I had totes with plumbing, totes with electrical, and you know, it got good there for a while, but you know, then it kind of gets crazy. And I think growing up, you know, we had some wooden boxes on my dad's workbench, and it was just nothing but screws and nuts and bolts, and anytime you wanted a nut and bolt, you had to dig and dig and dig through that box till you found what you wanted, you know, and that was the kind of thing that made me want to get organized.
My grandpa would take mason jars and just cut a hole in the lid, screw them up, and I mean, that's the coolest thing you ever seen, ain't it? I mean, you know, he'd have them mason jars screwed up there and have them all, you know, have stuff in them where you could see them. That's a genius. You know, that's a you know, I try to do the stuff. I try to organize the best I can. I get organized then. When I'm done with the job, that's when I get unorganized, when I start putting my tools back up. Or somebody else goes to helping me putting my tools up, and I say, where did that go? You know what I mean? And screwdrivers disappear. I don't know if you have this trouble with screwdrivers. I just, whenever I see a 4 or 5 pack of screwdrivers, I just buy them, bring them back in the shop, and throw them down. Because I figure I just go ahead because they disappear. How can I lose screwdrivers?
I don't do that. I've got tools that I bought when I was 12, 13 years old.
I'm more the Japanese tool guy. Because what I figure is, I say I need a socket set. Okay, and I'm working on something. When I'm done, I'd rather just throw that over the hill, and then I'll get me $20 and buy another socket set. I figure, cause I ain't no way I keep up with that tools like it. Now I tell you what I do like. I like hammers. I've got to where I've got this addiction to hammers, and then I love finding them. You know, or finding old tools and redoing them.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I found some wrenches. The other day I found a pipe wrench. No, it was a crescent wrench, and I was so excited. I found it in a building up on the hill, big old crescent wrench, and I cleaned it up, man. I took me a little brush and cleaned it all over and got it all nice, and I've had it hanging on the wall. And I said, man, that's because they're expensive, big crescent wrench. And I said, I found a jewel. I found that thing. And then I went to use it the other day, and where you turn your fingers on the thing, half of it was gone. So when I would turn it over, the whole jaw would open up. And I thought, now I know why this ragged pile of junk was laying up there. What I figure I'll do is I'll just lay it somewhere else. Maybe out to the landfill, and somebody will find it, and they'll be excited, won't they? It'll bring joy to somebody else's life.
Let's take that downtown for bait.
I can use it for an anchor on the boat. It's a big one. I found a pipe wrench like that and cleaned it up. But then, you know, the jaws wear out on them old pipe wrenches. But I cleaned it up and painted it. And the worst thing I ever done was I had a sledgehammer. Kept breaking the handle out. You know, we would do stuff and break the handle. And I said, you know, being the genius I am, I found me a slate bar, put in there and welded it. And man alive, when you use that thing, it jar your teeth, it jar your shoulders. That wasn't very smart. It wasn't a good thing. I lost it and didn't regret it at all. I don't know where it went. But it's good to be able to keep that stuff.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I've been accused of being thrifty too, and that all stems from when you're growing up and people bought furniture back then thinking it was a lifetime investment, and that's the way I always was. I bought a tool, I think, well, I'm going to have this till I die,
right?
And I take care of my tools, and then when Craftsman or Snap-on, any of them companies, they replace a tool when it breaks,
right.
So I'd make sure I buy that kind of tool so I get it replaced, And so, like I said, I've got tools that I bought when I was in my teens.
I think it's the difference between a professional and an amateur. I'm an amateur, okay? I'm like everything I do like this is I'm not professional at all, okay? So, I mean, I watched you guys a while back when we was doing something. You jerked the carburetor off and started taking it apart, and I said, I have to go over and ask that parts man, do you have a carburetor?
Yeah.
Okay, because we started pulling jets out and looking at them. What is this jet? What is that jet? And I'm thinking, I don't. Yeah. My son-in-law, Andrew, he's very smart. He's a genius, really. Mm-hmm. But he takes stuff apart. He built his own AR-15 out of parts. Just stuff like that. Everything he does stuff like he took a golf cart and like a $300 golf cart sitting in the field, and it do 45 mile an hour now. Okay, I mean he just Bluetooth and rebuilt the whole frame, jacked it off the ground. But he's like that with everything and the stuff that he does. One day we was at Myrtle Beach when we was living down there, and both of us had Harleys, and he just bought a new Harley. It wasn't a month old, and I went down in the parking garage and he had took apart, had the windshield laid off and everything laid out there, and he was putting a new radio antenna inside of the fairing. And I said, well, I'd have to call Harley and tell them to bring me a motorcycle. I said, because I'd never get that back together.
It kills me to have to pay somebody else to fix my stuff, you know. I mean, and we got a Harley right now, and when I bought it, I didn't realize I had a problem till after I got it.
Right.
And I ended up, spending about $1,800 to have the Harley dealer fix it, and it was like some of this stuff is a little too technical for me, and boy, it killed me to have to pay that money. But it runs good now.
I kept one for years. I kept them, and because I've been riding since I was big enough to. My dad had bought me I had a mini bike forever, and then they first come out with that Honda 50.
Okay.
Which was a Cadillac, okay? I mean, that Honda 50 was just like with the gears, automatic gears and stuff. But then he brought me home a 160 Honda street bike.
Oh, yeah.
And I couldn't get on it. I had to stand up on a stump and get on it. It had electric starter too, and I'd wear out the yard riding it around because the tires would spin, riding it around. And like I said, I've been riding ever since I was a boy, and never had a wreck. And then I just got to thinking about 4 or 5 years ago. I said I had that good new Harley, had the full package of everything you can do, lights and all this mess. And I said, I'm not as quick as I used to be. And I got to thinking the odds. I'm real big on odds. If I'm betting on horses or whatever I'm doing, I look at the odds, okay? And I got to I seen no buddies that got hit rear-ended at red lights on the way home.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't know. I said, I think I need to make a change.
Yeah.
And at this point in my life, and I did, sold it to my cousin, and he was tickled to death with it. Still got it. He loves it. And but when I bought a Harley, one thing I did, and I had like a '69 pan head. I had all that, had all that stuff at points.
I think I've seen pictures of it.
I had all that stuff, choppers, but what I just, but when I went to get another Harley, my Tim Boyd gave me some of the best advice. He said, John, go buy you a brand new one. With the new technology, and everything brand new, with the one, go do that.
You're gonna enjoy
and I did, and I did, and we never had a bit of trouble.
Right.
I never, just never had a bit of trouble. It started every time, and I took care of it, but it started good, and I never had no issues out of it, and I just sold it to him. But I'm big on the odds. I just got thinking, I don't know if I want to ride. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I feel like, people say your days are numbered, all that stuff. I mean, I feel like God knows when you're going to die. And it's like I can't change that.
Right.
If I wouldn't let that. I'm getting older. I'm getting weaker. There might be a day when I say, okay, I can't handle the bike anymore,
Right.
so I'm going to get rid of it. But I'm not going to get rid of it because I'm afraid that
listen,
what's going to happen. Because
I'm 100% in support of you, okay, in that aspect, okay? There's things I've done in the past. I took a lot of chances.
Mm-hmm.
And then I get to thinking now in my life, I didn't think as much about it at some points, but I got thinking of some people depend on me. And I don't mean I can walk out here tomorrow and something fall on my head, okay, and something happened to me. But I don't want to throw I don't want to get me a set of those, remember the lawn darts?
Yeah. We have a set.
Okay. I mean, can you imagine how crazy that was?
Yeah.
Throwing those.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I don't want to shoot or I don't want to, when we was little, we would get us a bow and arrow and shoot up in the air and take off running. I don't want to do that. Okay. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I want to try it if I can be a little more cautious. I mean, I'm a 3-point of contact man if I can. Okay. I want to try to be careful.
Yeah.
And because I don't know, I just think about, and one thing that's inspired me is I want to live long enough to see my kids get what they deserve through my grandchildren for things they've done, okay? I can see them now. I don't know if you ever see it in your kids, but I see the fear in my children sometimes because they know. Yeah. They know what's coming.
I tell my kids, they were easy to raise.
Yeah.
They you go through all those teenage years. There was no drugs, no pregnancies,
right.
Sure, there was a lot of, attitude and this and that you got to live through.
And I think that's what I'm talking about. Yeah. I mean, my kids, none of them are hooked on the oxy, and none of them been in jail or anything like that. And good to raise, good kids. I mean, my kids have been good kids, but some of that sneaking. Okay, I want to see them. I want to see them get it. Okay, and I've been blessed too. I've got one redheaded grandson who I feel like my youngest daughter is going to get what she deserves, and they're good kids and good grandkids. Okay, but I see parts of them in these grandkids, and I think that I watched my grandson Carter. It helps me now.
Yeah,
I watched him when he was littler. I seen him arguing with his mom and dad, pointing. Them and him looking up at him, and them both arguing. 2 grown adults arguing with him, and him arguing back, and I'm just grinning from ear to ear.
He didn't have a broken finger after that.
I'm just thinking they're getting what they deserve, but like I said, they're good. All my kids are good kids. I mean, but there's some things there, and
I see a little bit of that in my grandson, sneaking and whatever.
Yeah.
And I don't know, they're good kids, It's like I can't think of anything really bad to say about them,
Do you think, though, when they're grandkids, you see less bad in them than you did you see good stuff in your grandkids. I see good stuff in my grandkids. My grandkids can get away with a lot.
Yeah.
And Colson has told me 2 or 3 times, you would have beat me if I'd have done that. I said, but that's my grandson. I'm not going.
I haven't ever, I don't remember ever spanking my grandkids, but my grandson, I don't know, last year I think it was, I was up there and he was doing something and he was being, pretty crafty behind his sister's back, and I said, that ain't right. I said, don't be doing that because Grandpa will spank you. He's like, you can't spank me. And I hollered out to the kitchen to his dad. I said, Clay, is it okay for me to spank Bo? And he's like, yeah, if he needs a spanking, you spank him, Boy, his eyes got big. He didn't believe me till then. But now, I think he's got that fear that, I better behave with Grandpa because he might spank me.
Yeah. My kids, I think about my grandkids. I never spanked them, but because I figure they're not that all my responsibility. I look at all and I've got one. I'm blessed to have 2 of them live within sight of my house, and one of them lives really close to my house, and he is a hoot. Okay, because he's just a mixture of my daughter-in-law and my son. And he is a handful.
Yeah.
And what they do too.
I saw him trying to take over one of your cooking shows one time.
See, I mean, that's what I'm talking. If he was here now, he'd be up here behind this table,
right?
Saying hello.
He's
you know
cute,
what? And he don't meet a stranger.
Yeah.
Okay. He don't meet a stranger. He just. I mean, he just is a hoot. And I told them all down at the house, I said, the sooner we acknowledge that he's smarter than all of us, the better our life will be.
Yeah.
I said, let's go ahead.
Just roll with it.
Because he can run the whole porch. There'll be 7 of us on the front porch, and he can rule the whole porch.
Yeah.
At the same time. He can handle all of us, and while he's playing in the yard with a stick. But it's all right. It's a lot of.
Yeah.
I think we got to enjoy our life, Dan.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm real big on that. I'm big on enjoying my life, and at this point in my life, I'm gonna be good to people.
Yeah.
And if I can't, I'm gonna get away from you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm just gonna ease on out of the way and leave them alone, and not. I'm not going to quarrel and fight. Mm-hmm. And I tell you what else I'm not going to do. And you tell me I'm not going to try to straighten everybody up.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Right. You can't.
Just not going to do it.
Yeah. It's you have to have a person has to have some self-worth to straighten themselves up. You know, some people have to hit rock bottom before they straighten up, and this person's rock bottom might be different than your rock bottom.
Yeah.
You know, and I see people that they get low, and this guy thinks he's at his rock bottom, and he runs over here to help him.
Right.
And he's helped him several times. Well, that guy has never seen his real rock bottom. And once he finally sees his real rock bottom, then he's going to straighten himself up. You know, other people around him might impress him with stuff that, you know, he can apply, but he has to want to do it himself, you know.
Yeah, I talked to a lot of people that come through rehab and come through different things, and some have been to rehab 4 and 5 times, and talk about how the Lord will open their eyes so that they can really see what they're at in the position that they're in.
Yeah.
And that's a real, you know, it's hard for me to understand some of it, and I've had a lot of them explain to me, a lot of family come through rehab, and how they changed their life, and when they got to the point, and there was no excuse that put them there. You know, it wasn't. I've talked to very few that have come from abused and awful families and things like that. Sometimes just perfectly normal family, and they would tell me how good their parents were to them growing up.
Oh yeah.
But they just get on drugs, okay?
Yeah.
And got to fool them with something that was, you know, they shouldn't have been doing.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to do.
Right.
And I used to be a little harder on people on drugs, but I'm not as much anymore because I have a hard enough time getting off the Oreos. Okay, you know what I mean? If I was on the Oxycontin, it would be awful. And I think of how hard it is for some people.
Oh, right.
I mean, gee whiz, how hard.
Yeah, I mean, I feel fortunate that, you know, I was brought up in a good home, and I never struggled with any addictions, you know, other than eating. I love to eat, you know.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's always a struggle, trying to watch what I eat. But
I was blessed to come up, you know, raised in Church of God and hardline Pentecostal. You know what I mean? And my dad got saved, and you know, after I was born. And my dad actually got shot across the kitchen table with his cousin shot him with a dueling, had the pistol aimed the bullet aimed to the day he died back at his spine. They couldn't take it out.
Wow.
But he was sitting across the kitchen table, and they were sitting over a set of little old 25s, little 25.
Oh, yeah.
And he just pulled the trigger and shot him right across the table and didn't.
By accident? Or?
Yeah, by accident.
Okay.
Didn't even know it. You know what I mean? Didn't know it. Pow, just happened like that. And but anyway, I think about my life growing up and how, you know, I just was really blessed. Blessed to grow up in a little town in war, and I grew up downtown, never had an outhouse. I've interviewed a lot of people, seem so proud that they used an outhouse, but I never did. I could always go down on the street and bring back a carton of Pepsis in the bottle.
Yeah.
You know, and grew up right there where I could, in the middle of all of that.
Yeah.
And it was just different life.
Yeah. When we got old enough to, you know, like be trusted on our bicycle past a couple of blocks down the street. You know, it was a big deal to get to go to the store with money to buy a loaf of bread, or go down to the root beer stand and get a jug of A&W root beer.
Oh yeah.
And
it's fine. You know, we were blessed in town there to play. We used the whole town for hide and go seek. We would play hide and go seek, and I was blessed to grow up with neighbors guys that I grew up with all my life. You know what I mean? I grew up with them, and right next to me, and house after house down on both sides of me, and we grew up playing together. And we at night we would go down on the street and play kick the can, kick the can, take off running. And I mean, at night in the town, we'd hide under cars and on top of buildings, and play hide and go seek, and I mean, that was a whole different world. Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
And then building buggies. We build buggies and race them on Saturdays. There wasn't a baby carriage safe with the wheels or a lawnmower. You know, you ever did that? We'd take them wheels. We'd find us an axle.
Not so much.
And take a set of wheels off of a lawnmower so fast that we wouldn't know it had wheels. Have it nailed on the back of a 2x6 with an old wagon to sit on, and go up front and put a bolt through the middle if we could find a bolt or a nail, and to steer that thing with a rope and come down the mountain so fast. It was.
We had, you know, where I grew up, it was, you know, Michigan is known for being pretty flat, no high on that, but in town where I lived there it was a little hilly, you know, a little contour to the land, and right around the corner from us there was a pretty steep hill. We had sidewalks, and you go over that, and boy, you would get going fast down that little hill. I mean, we would wear that thing out up and down on our bicycles and scooters, and you know, and I remember I was about 10, 12 years old, and I'd got a brand new bike for my birthday, you know, and my younger brother, he got on it, and without my permission, you know, he got on it and took off riding, and he rode down that hill, and he lost control, and he ended up getting some stitches in his head and stuff. I was so mad because there was blood on my bicycle. Scratched up the chrome on the handlebars, you know. Oh yeah, that's a bad thing. And do you ever have the tassels on the hand grips? We used to get them tassels on our hand grips, and if we could get a balloon and put it back there where it made that noise, where it rubbed the spokes, it sounded like a motorcycle when we
it was
always
coming.
used like a baseball card.
Oh man, baseball cards were great. You know, imagine if you had some of them baseball cards back, what they would be worth. Yeah, I remember I bought a car one time, and I always took the seats out of the cars when I bought it to clean it good, and under the back seat you always find a bunch of money, and anyway, I found a baseball card under the back seat of this, I think it was a 65 Corvair, and it was like a trading card from the early 60s, and it was worth some money probably at that time, you know, and I thought my little boy was old enough, you know, and I gave it to him to keep, you know. And next thing I know, he had tore that thing in half. Oh, Lord. Like, you don't know what you're doing. You know, it was crazy. You want to get after him, but it was like my fault for not knowing that he wasn't old enough. You know, what I try to do with stuff is I found, I don't know, a while back, I was in a storage building up on one of my buildings. My house is just a little over 800 square feet, but I've got 3 storage buildings. But for junk, which my wife drew that to my attention a while back, talking about how little I live. She says, "What about all these buildings you got?" But I was working on something. You remember back when on TV, it's been back probably in the 90s, they sold these coins all the time, these proof coins in these plastic boxes, like a nickel, a dime, penny, and all that. It was a big thing. You used your credit card and you got them shipped to you every month. All right. Well, of course, I did that. I had all kinds of coins, and I was up there in that building and working on something, and just junk in the building. And I pulled out this box, and there was this box full of all those coins. I don't even know what they were worth now. You know what I mean? They're all mint.
Well, they're worth a nickel and a quarter.
I gave them to my grandson. I gave them to him. I said, because there's no sense in me keeping nothing like that. And every time I get something, I would, I buy at the auction. If they come across these collector's knives, like a Loretta Lynn knife or whatever, Johnny Cash. You know, I always buy them in the box, and then I give them, as soon as I get back home, I give them to one of the grandkids, because there's no sense in me keeping them. I tell them, I said, someday you sell it, don't keep it. You know what I mean? If it's worth anything, sell it. And but I mean, I don't know. I don't keep anything like that anymore. I just what I keep now is something that be sentimental, real sentimental to me, that I'll keep, that I run across. And I've got a set of I've got a jar full of beans. It's like a old pop bottle or a beer bottle that a lady brought me one time overseas, and she had brought it to me and gave it to me in the offering at the church, the place I was preaching at. It's just a bottle, clear bottle, and it's got a cap on it and full of beans that she brought and gave me. And another lady brought me a chicken. I don't have it anymore. She brought it. I thought it was dead till she set it down. It wasn't dead. It was alive. But she brought it in the offering, brought that chicken, bring it right and give it to it. But you know, anything I keep now is something I keep a sort of got a.
I got a few things that belong to family members and that.
But this is it. I keep it in there. This is a, Lord be careful. But there it is. I keep it. I've always had it. And I keep stuff like that. That she sealed the top up and brought it. Because it still got a little full. I don't know whether it's a beer bottle or something. But I think about stuff that I don't know. I got one time my dad and I, we our whole family from Germany and Scotland, we build. We've always been builders. We could take a pile of metal and come up with something. We love to build stuff. Not as critique as you do, okay? We're not the 16th of an inch people, okay? But we built a machine that made logs out of coal. We had coal. So we took slack coal and filtered it, and we had a formula that we worked with my dad, and we worked for like 20 hours a day for I don't know how long, because we just worked on this thing up into the night. I can remember being outside with him and the welder, and we designed it with a hydraulic jack and an engine. We had a big electric motor with a hydraulic pump and everything, and we designed a cylinder to come up and lock and close, and we poured that in, and it made a log out of this coal.
Really?
And it was cool, man. It was the coolest thing. And so we said we were going to go to Charleston. We had made an appointment with a patent attorney.
Really?
Go to Charleston, and we'll go up there and we'll do this. You know, we'll have this. And it was like $750 or something like that, and we couldn't afford it. We didn't have the money. We said, we probably could have been thousandaires by now if we'd have done that. But a while back, I found it. Found the log. One of the logs we made was in my mom's basement in the window. And found the log that we made, and I ordered me a shadow box off of the internet, and I'm gonna put it in it and write the story and put it in there.
Okay.
And put it in there and put it up about. You know, we always made stuff like that. My dad and them built an asphalt plant, and they built it, and it was over there in West Virginia, over in Berwyn, built this whole asphalt plant just from pieces, and then used it for years. And this guy come from Africa. I don't know, how would they even know this before there was anything like that where you could go on the internet and find, but found out about it and come and bought it. And it sit there for probably 8 to 10 years. It sit there. Trees that grew up, and they come in one day with a big tractor trailer and come in to get it and took it to the dock and put it on a boat and sent it to Africa. And one time I come home, Dan, you'll appreciate this, I had a 66 GMC step-side pickup, 4-speed. Great to haul coal in. Had the step-side fenders on it. You know, I loved it. Had the 6-cylinder in it.
Okay, yeah.
I liked the truck. I come to the farm one day, and my dad and them had built a sawmill. They had a big sawmill, big slide the logs up and down, a great big blade, dangerous as can be. You know how them old sawmills was. And I come in one day, and I looked, and my truck was sitting up on crib blocks. And the signal lights were going, and they had took the bed off of it and hooked the drive shaft to the sawmill. And there it sat, blinking. And they had put a stick in there and had the motor running the whole sawmill with my pickup truck. It's something, buddy.
You had to donate.
Nothing was safe, you know. Nothing was safe around it. People, I don't know.
That's war sounds a little rougher than this town I grew up in.
It probably was. We just didn't know any better. You know, if you don't know any better, you think it's normal. And you probably are good. You talk about buying and selling cars, and I interview a lot of people like Charlie Absher and Jimmy Dickens and all these car salesman guys who are really, you got to watch around them anyway, okay? And I noticed one thing about them guys, they never own a new car. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
Too smart.
Yeah.
They always have something they've got for 15. The other day, Charlie had a car in Mercedes he's had for I don't know how long, and he's drove it everywhere, and he gave $1,500 for it, and he's talking about it, but he had to spend $1,500 on it the other day, and he was just grumbling.
Yeah.
And I said, what are you grumbling about?
Yeah.
But, my uncle was pretty good at trading, my Uncle Harold. And one time I had a 52 Dodge pickup, flathead 6. You remember those? Did you ever see one of those? 3 windows in the back, push down starter. I drove it to high school. I loved it. On the seat was rough, and I had a blanket over top of the seat because it was so rough, you know. But that was the truck I drove it. But my uncle and then also I had a Dodge dump truck. Had a big nice Dodge dump truck that I used. And my uncle had a 72 Ford pickup, and one day he told me, he said, I'd like to trade with you on your Dodge. I thought, 72 Ford?
Yeah.
For 52 Dodge is a good deal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I come home, and my Dodge dump truck was gone. I had misunderstood the trade. He took my dump truck and left me the pickup, which wasn't good. My dad was so mad at me over that, he threw a fit. I said, well, I did, and I couldn't say nothing.
Yeah.
You know, we done made the trade. That's crazy, and stuff you think about. And I can't remember where my truck's parked at sometimes, but I remember some of that stuff. Well, when you think about it, you talk about your life growing up, who were some people? Can you think of some people maybe influenced you?
Well, my dad, of course, he's a huge influence, and there's some couple different people we went to church with and that.
Right.
And, my dad's oldest brother, he lived near us. I think it was some point in time, my dad's whole family had lived in Michigan, but then they all kind of came back to Tazewell,
Right.
And there's still a couple of them that live up there, but he taught me a lot about house construction and that. I mean, he was good with everything, one of those jack of all trades, master of some, know. And that was my dad's oldest brother. When I was buying my first house, I bought it on a land contract, and where I had to make a balloon payment in 6 months. And so I worked with him. I worked in the shop full time, and then I worked with him on all my other spare hours. And trying to get that balloon payment worked up for that house, and so I did a lot of drywall work and all sorts of construction work, and I grew up doing bump and paint work with my dad at the house, because he did that on the side of working at General Motors. So when it came to drywall, it came easy, because it was a lot like spreading Bondo and sanding it down, And anyway, then, I've got people in my life now that I look up to.
Right. It's good. We should have.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we should have.
I get a lot of smarts from my son.
Yeah. Yeah, I do the same thing. I learn a lot from my boy. He talks to me a lot about stuff, and he'll ask me questions and talk to me and he'll get me thinking about things that I normally get bullheaded about. I don't know if you ever get bullheaded. You don't seem like that
not
person
too
to be
much,
bullheaded.
I don't think.
See, we don't think, right?
Yeah.
But he'll make me think, and he'll ask me some stuff, and we'll talk about things.
Yeah.
And the other day I got something a while back that I don't know why I hadn't had it most of my life. I got a gate opener, automatic gate opener.
Yeah.
Have you ever had one of those?
No.
Coolest thing in the whole world. If you have a gate, you ought to have one.
Yeah.
Okay? Because, my wife always has to get out and open the gate. It's really been good for her. I told somebody, said, my gate opener works good.
Yeah.
But it quit.
Okay.
And we just couldn't figure it out. I looked at it. Got the meter out, went all over it.
Mm-hmm.
We just couldn't figure it out why it wasn't working, because all we done was unhook it and rehook it back up.
Mm-hmm.
And I told him, I said, you just got to figure it out. And him and his little wife got out there working on it, and they finally all we had to do was wire out the power block that come in. Went bad. Not the fuse. The fuse was still good.
Okay.
But they just moved the wires over, wiring that power right up.
Oh, okay.
But he done that, and I think getting it from our children and having our children, and I think it says a lot. I know that don't sound right, but it's hard to breed 2 poodles and get a Doberman. Okay? And I think there's just a lot of heredity in people. When you look at your dad, and you look at your son, you're in between, and you can see probably a lot of your dad in your son.
Oh yeah.
And that's inspiring for me. You?
Yeah, he's my son's got a lot of wisdom,
Yeah, I like that. I think that's good.
It's I've always said that, even when he was a youngster, in his single digits and teens, he was wise behind his years.
Right. Yeah. I've been blessed. I've got 2 daughters and a boy. They're all different. They just seem like they're so different. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And we talk about them all the time, how they're different. They got one that we talked about if they jumped out of an airplane. Okay, my oldest daughter would have a plan before she hit the ground on what to do.
Yeah.
And then my youngest daughter would hit the ground giving orders. And then my son would hit the ground not really knowing anything happened.
Yeah.
Okay, he would just go about his business.
Yeah.
My wife laughs at us when we work together sometimes, Dan. Me and him work together, and I go a little frantic. When I'm here and I've got 50 TV stations down across the country and I'm trying to figure it out, you know what I mean? And I'm going at it like a madman. He's just walking along and works on stuff and does that. And I think he gets that from his mom.
Yeah. I'm not partial to my son. My daughter is impressive too. Right. She was a single mother for years, and a lot of kids can milk you to death. Borrowing money, begging money, or whatever. My kids were never like that. They're both hard workers. They self-supportive. She was a cosmetologist, single mother, and just really doing good. And she ended up getting married to a guy that they're doing real well together, and I'm just as proud of her as I am myself.
Yeah. You think about that, it's the big fear I always had was my kids taking care of themselves. I always wanted to know they could handle themselves. Do you ever have that, or am I the only one? I run into that. I always wanted to know they could take care of themselves.
Yeah, there's probably just a few years where when they're just getting started out, you worry more, I think. But they're established in their lives now. My daughter's 40. my son is 38, I believe. But anyway, so they're settled into their adult.
My boy's 38. He's 38.
And they're doing well. I'm proud of both of them. I always hear people, and I've said this myself, you just want your kids to do better than you did, and they're knocking it out of the park.
I think that's you always want to know that and I know if you fall dead, you ain't going to worry about stuff anyway, but you always want to know if you're left here that your kids will be all right.
Yeah.
And I always felt like my kids got enough of my wife in them where they'll make it pretty good. I see so much of her because now you seem like you were probably a worker. Okay, I never was that good of a worker in some respects. Okay, my wife, she's a go-getter. Okay, she always. We were looking back from gosh, I don't know, 88, a video last night of when we had restaurants. And, you know, we had 8 restaurants at one time. And
Wow.
Janice was a worker.
Yeah.
I mean, my wife would open, close, and work and make sure everything was right and be there, make sure the tomatoes were sliced and everything was done. She would go around and she's really as good now. Now me, I was planning the next business. You know, what are we going to do? I'd come back and say, well, we bought another restaurant. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or we're building a new one.
Yeah.
And I don't know, but I see that part of her and them, and I see them, and that makes me proud.
Yeah.
You know, because I think more of her than I do of me. You know, I think of that, and that's why I married her.
Yeah.
If I thought she was a worse person than me, I wouldn't have married her. But I think of how I see that in their life, and I admire that, and I think that's what we ought to.
Yeah.
And it's good to have a father that inspired you.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really is. And you know, I call this John Dashing friends because I won't talk to nobody who ain't my friend. All right. I've had a few enemies.
I'm glad I made the cut.
Yeah. I've had a few enemies. So I said, no, I'm not going to talk to you. I don't really like you that much. I'll tell them. We'll see how things work out.
Yeah.
I tell you who I want to get in here is our buddy Mike Compton.
Yeah.
It's a battle, though.
I thought he'd been in here by
Tell
now.
you what, man, he absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't want to do. He gets on me. But I'm gonna stay on
You
him.
get Mike in here talking about race cars,
Yeah.
and you'll see how much I don't really know. he knows more than I do.
I get around you guys though, and I know nothing. Okay,
Yeah.
and I have learned some things over the past 2 years. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm learning a little bit, and I try to. When you crawl up under that car, I try to. And I ain't helping a lot, but I try to get down there with you because I want to know why you're adjusting this rear end, and I want to know what you're doing. I don't want to ask so much stuff that make you mad, but I like to ask just enough so I can sort of say, all right, why are we putting this shim in?
Yeah.
You know, why are you putting the shim in? What are we doing here?
Yeah. I don't mind that at all. I'd like. I'm not some great teacher, but I like teaching people what I'm doing, and my daughter, she can build furniture. Her and her husband have rental houses, and she's got all her tools, he can't touch them. And she does a lot of the labor, I mean, I know he does too, but, and then, she's got, her kids are helping too, but she gives me a lot of credit for, teaching her. And I really don't remember her and I working together on too many projects together, but, she's good.
It's good.
She can,
it's good.
Do floors, lay furniture, lay floors and build furniture and all kinds of things. And she's got a little workshop out in the garage with her tools, and she just, they got these rental properties and stuff, and they're always working on that, doing that stuff,
My dad when he passed away, left a bunch of rental property, which I don't enjoy at all. But I do it for my mom, and I work on stuff for her and go along.
Okay.
But we've got a little wood shop over beside the house. My son got interested in building and woodworking, so we went and bought one of them rent-to-own buildings and set it all up for him and done that. And he loves building, he's built a lot of furniture.
Yeah.
Stuff. But we had an issue. We had stuff that would come up crooked that shouldn't come up crooked, just a hair bit off, like a table or something like that. And come to find out, it was the saw we were using was off.
Yeah.
And we couldn't straighten it up.
Yeah.
We couldn't adjust it. It was just a fraction off.
Yeah, I had one like that, and I sold it.
That's exactly what we did. You couldn't adjust it, could you?
Yeah, right.
You're thinking, but wouldn't you think there would be an adjustment? You could crank just a little bit,
Yeah.
but it couldn't adjust it. Finally, we just got rid of the saw. It was a good saw, but man, that sucker messed us up so much.
Yeah.
You'd have a table going this, get a little shimmy in it. You're thinking, but I enjoy doing. I tell you why I like doing stuff like that is I feel like I accomplished something. I like to cook. Okay, I enjoy cooking because I feel like I'm actually getting something done. I've been doing these interviews since 1992. And television we've been in for almost 40 years.
Wow.
But it runs 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, so it's never finished.
Yeah.
Okay? When I pastored a church for 20 years, It's never finished. You never say, all right, everybody's living right and saved and ready to go to heaven, we can quit.
Yeah.
It never happens. But when I cook, I feel like I'm accomplishing something, okay? And it's finished. And when I build something in the shop, I built a bunch of toolboxes. I got into building toolboxes, and little just wooden toolboxes with the wood handle. And I enjoyed that so much. I built them. And then I got to building a box that was patterned after the old snake handler box. A snake handling box, like you put snakes in to go to church.
Yeah, I didn't go to that.
The
church.
lid has to slide back. It doesn't open like this.
Okay.
Because open like this, the snakes come out too fast. But it slides the lid back. I got to build them boxes and put them sliding lids on them. I love that. One thing I want to do now, I like to build on my porch out in front of my house. Is I always wanted to build it and put a big drawer, like 4 foot wide and 8 foot long, underneath my porch. To put my yard tools in, because it seems like such a wasted space. I thought, I like to build one like that and have it slide out. Make my own rollers, get me some wheels and make my own rollers for it. And I get in a big building way.
Garage door material.
Yeah, just make it. But I don't know. I enjoy people. I think that's a big thing. And we've done some stuff that we're just and I got good people work with me. My family's worked with me forever, and that's worth a lot. Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, that's one thing. We always vacationed down here when I was a kid, and I kind of knew that when I got older and retired, I wanted to live down here, and so with my kids still living in Michigan and my grandkids, and it's tough, because there'll be times when I go up there and help them on some of their rental properties or whatever, and I might stay a few weeks or a month, or and help them. And I enjoy working with both of them. We work good together, and I miss that. I just, I wish that one day they would all want to come down here, because I don't want to go up there where the weather is colder.
Right, absolutely.
And, the older I get, the more I don't like the snow.
I'm 100% with you.
I always tell everybody I didn't move far enough south.
There's a point there. You need to go farther sometimes. I've got a family that live in Florida. My Aunt Debbie lives in Florida, and she brags on the weather a lot, but it gets hot a lot too. But our weather around here has been so strange in the last little bit.
I always tell everybody it's not much different than what I grew up with in Michigan, Now, Bill, he lives in North Carolina down there by Hickory, and that seems like a great place. They get a couple of weeks of real cold weather, but nothing like we're getting.
What kin are you to Randy?
He's my first cousin.
He's your first cousin.
His dad and my dad were brothers.
Ain't that cool? Small world, ain't it?
Yeah.
I've always liked Randy. He's a businessman.
Yeah.
That guy there is on the nickel. He knows what he's doing. I've known him for a long time. He's always been. He's down the line.
He's always been good to us.
Him and Patty just always been so good to me. And in the ministry, we always had to have sound equipment for this, sound equipment for that. He would work with us and help us get stuff. And
I think anybody involved in a church in the tri-state area here probably knows Randy because of the sound systems and that. And
he's just an expert on that stuff, man. He was good, and
I've helped him. I delivered a piano to a church in Michigan one time for him, because I'm running back and forth all the time over the years, but
he was always, like I said, he was always good to me, and I don't forget that stuff, man. I remember people. And Randy liked to ride a motorcycle too, I believe.
Yeah, he does.
I asked him, I can't remember a while back I asked him. I don't think he rides a Harley though. Doesn't he ride something else?
I've seen him on a Honda.
That's exactly what I remember too, an old Honda or Suzuki looking thing. I thought, well, that ain't even a Harley. I don't give people credit if it ain't a Harley.
I've had a couple of the other ones myself over the years, and it's just not the same,
I know. We tried out a trike one time. You ever ride one of those?
Last summer I tried one out.
It was a nightmare. I almost threw Janice over the hill. It was just terrible. I mean, it's just like Now I think I would like those other things that you ride. Got the wheels up front, the Spider or whatever they're called.
Yeah.
That thing up front. I've never drove one.
I don't. Oh, the ones you sit down in like a car?
Yeah, it's got the wheels up front. You know, the wheels turn up front. Got the one drive wheel in the back.
Okay, but it's a motorcycle.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't think you'd like those.
I looked at.
People told me they lean the wrong way when you go around a corner.
See that trike?
Yeah.
You try to ride it around the curve in that trike, and you're.
You don't get that sense of freedom.
It ain't like you're flying on like a bird.
Yeah.
And so I'm just cold turkey.
Yeah.
Okay, I've just cut off cold turkey. I'm not doing anything. I like to have. I keep looking at racing. I would like to race for 1 year. I'd like to have a Crown Vic.
Yeah.
And race.
Yeah.
I'd like to do it 1 year just to sort of while I still can.
Yeah.
But I just don't know if I can afford it. I don't know if I can get through it and afford it. Okay, I think about it.
It's expensive.
But I think about that money.
Yeah.
And it ain't buying the car that worries me. Oh, thank you, Mom. It ain't buying the car that worries me. It's the other stuff. You know, that I think about a lot of times. You know, I think about. But I mean, Mike said, "Don't worry about it. We'll make it work."
Oh yeah.
And he said he'll. You know, because I'll have to have somebody like you guys that knows what's going on. Because I'll bring it in and say it's making a noise.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at least. You know, if you go that route, then you're going to get a lot more of your parts from the junkyard instead of.
Well, but I'll tell you what I'm thinking about. There's a guy down there. I'm thinking about leasing one.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I'll make, like you said, I'll get that part of it out of me.
Yeah, there you go.
And if I can lease one, and you know, go
a lot
about
less headaches. You know,
go about that route and have him bring it to the track.
We, when my son was about 13, 14 years old, he was. We had got go-karts for the kids. You know, they paid for half and I paid for half. You know, you had to make them get some investment in it. And anyway, we had a go-kart track in the backyard, and we had like about 1 3/4 acre, even though we were in town, and we wore that place out. I got a go-kart, and my 2 kids, a neighbor kid, and me, we'd be out there just racing. We'd come in, just look like coal miners. We'd be covered with dust, you know. And so anyway, you know, he got pretty good with it.
Right.
Well, I got on this go-kart league one time where they have go-karts that run on propane inside of a building, you know, and it was set up just like going to your Saturday night local racetrack. You had heat races and the feature race, and oh, that was so much fun because you didn't have to work on anything. You go there, jump in the race car. And, you know, you're only doing 30 miles an hour, but when you're side by side, you feel like you're doing 130.
I went the other day and watched these guys up here at, we were up here at the Mercer Mall, and I went in there, and down at the end, they race those RC cars in there.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, in that mall, they got a track set up, and it's a big thing.
Yeah.
They do
so what I wanted to tell you was they only had like, I think 12 race cars. And they had the little NASCAR bodies on them where you lift up the roof and you get down in it and shut the roof. Well, some of the women that were there with their husbands are like, Clay, how come you don't race? You know, you got a go-kart. And, well, you had to be 16. Well, they never really asked how old Clay was. They just asked amongst the guys, is it you care if Clay gets in on it too? And they're like, no, we don't care. Well, so here Clay gets in. He's just cleaning up. He's going from the back to the front, you know, and here's some of these other guys that paid money to be in the league, and they're standing over here because they only got 12 carts, you know, and I'm thinking, boy, they're going to be pretty mad because, you know, here Clay ain't even 16 yet, and they're having to sit out because his kid. But we had so much fun.
That's good.
And just like leasing that car now, you can go home and you ain't got a wrench on anything all week.
That's what I think about. You know, I think I might, and overall, financially, it could be the better way to go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't have to sell. You know, when we lived at Myrtle Beach, I didn't want to buy. I just wanted to rent. We rented a real nice place, swimming pool, everything was there. And I told Janice, I said, now we know what we're going to spend. and when we leave, we don't have to try to sell it. We're ready to go. We can. And the day we left, we hauled the U-Haul, had them people come down and pack it for us, and headed toward Tazewell.
Oh.
You know, and I kept my place in Tazewell all the time, but I used to go. Dan, I appreciate you. I really do. I really do, and I enjoy meeting you and knowing you and getting to know you.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's important to make friends.
Yeah.
Okay.
I enjoyed it. I
really
was nervous because I didn't know what we'd talk about.
Just
and
like we're talking at the track.
I'm not that colorful, you know. And anyway,
I think it's history, though, brother. I really do. I believe we got history.
Yeah.
There's things in there that we live, both of us live through, and we enjoy.
Yeah.
And we live, and things that people need to know about.
Yeah.
You know.
And we're about the same age. You're a little older than me, probably.
Yeah,
but.
I am. But for 72, I ain't in bad shape. That's the way I look at it.
I was going to say you look pretty good for 75.
I'm 72. Don't make me older than what I am.
Yeah.
And this morning I asked Janice if I'd put a little hairspray on my hair. She said, I believe you'll be all right.
Yeah.
Dan, appreciate you, buddy. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
It's our hope that you enjoyed John Dash and Friends today. Your host, John Dash, believes these television programs serve as preserving history, capturing meaningful conversations and life lessons for generations to come. Each week, he sits down with friends from all walks of life as they share their wisdom, their stories, and their life experiences. If you enjoyed today's program, you can find us on all social media platforms. Just search John Dash and Friends. We're on Facebook and TikTok as well. In closing, John and his family thank you for allowing us to introduce you to their friends. We look forward to seeing you next time on John Dash and Friends.